Did you know that 10,000 people lose faith every year, but some of the world's biggest celebrities found their way back to God when everything else fell apart? From Chris Pratt hearing about Jesus outside a grocery store to Justin Bieber finding peace after hitting rock bottom, here are 30 celebrities who went from atheist to Christian. Anthony Hopkins. He used to feel lost, Anthony Hopkins. Even though he looked strong and smart in movies, his real life was full of pain. Being famous didn't help. He drank a lot because he didn't want to feel anything. He didn't believe in God. He thought religion was just a story people made up. In 1975, he went to a meeting to try to stop drinking. Someone asked him, "Do you believe in God?" He said no. But then something changed inside him. He quietly said, "If there is a God, help me." Nothing big happened. There was no light, no sound. But the feeling of drinking went away. It was like a quiet wind cleared his mind. To him, that was a miracle. He didn't start using big church words. He didn't try to make others believe. But now, he wakes up each day and feels thankful. Something greater than him helped him stop drinking, Hopkins says. His faith is quiet and calm. It doesn't come from fear or rules. It comes from peace. He tells people that even in the darkest times, something good might still happen. 2. Chris Pratt. Before he was a movie star, Chris Pratt lived in a van in Maui. He worked at a shrimp restaurant and didn't have big dreams. He didn't hate church or God. He just didn't care. He wanted to have fun and enjoy life. One day, a man came up to him outside a grocery store and talked about Jesus. That could have been just a small moment, but to Chris, it felt special, like it was supposed to happen. A few days later, he went to church. It didn't change him right away, but it felt like someone was gently guiding him. Over time, he began to believe. He wasn't just looking for faith. He was looking for something that gave his life meaning. Now, Chris talks about his faith all the time. He prays and reads the Bible. He stays strong when people make fun of him. He tells others, "You are loved. You matter." His belief is not something cool or popular. It's a big part of who he is. And even with all the fame, his faith keeps him grounded. 3. Justin Bieber. He became famous very young, Justin Bieber. At first, it seemed like a dream, but the pressure of fame was too much. He smiled in public, but inside, he felt sad and lost. His mom believed in God, so he had heard about faith, but it didn't feel real to him. Fame made him feel trapped. He started making bad choices. He got arrested. He partied too much. People watched as he went downhill. By 2014, he felt like he had hit rock bottom. He felt full of shame and emptiness. Then something changed. A few pastors came into his life. They didn't want money or fame. They just wanted to help him and talk about God. He said yes, Justin. He let them help him. Slowly, he started to heal. He read the Bible. He got baptized. He started to talk about his feelings. He stopped pretending. He talked about grace and how it feels to be truly loved. His marriage to Haley helped too. They pray together. They talk about God and help each other stay strong. Even his Instagram changed. It became more about hope than showing off. 4. Sting. His real name is Gordon Sumner Sting. He was raised Catholic, but he left that behind. Religion felt fake to him. He thought the church was too strict. He liked reading books more than going to church. When he became famous, he had money and power, but he still felt empty. His songs were full of sadness and deep questions. Then both of his parents died. That loss made him think more about life and death. He started reading the Bible again. This time, he didn't read it to judge it. He read it to understand. Little by little, Jesus became more than just a story. He said faith wasn't about fear, Sting. It was about love and giving. That message started to change his heart. Now he prays every day. He says faith helps him deal with life. His music still talks about pain, but now it also talks about hope and kindness. 5. Jane Fonda. She was known for being bold, Jane Fonda. She fought against unfair systems. She didn't like religion. She thought it was used to control people, especially women. She believed in human rights and justice. She said she didn't believe in God, but as she got older, she started to think more about life. She wondered what happens after we die. She thought about the pain people carry. She started to read about Jesus, not the strict version, but the kind one who helped hurting people. Her change didn't happen fast. It was slow, like the sun rising. She found peace in grace, a love she didn't have to earn. Now she says she is a Christian. She still fights for justice, but now she does it with love, not anger. 6. Mark Wahlberg. He grew up in a rough place, Mark Wahlberg. There was trouble on every street. As a teen, he got into fights and crime. He dropped out of school. He didn't believe in people or in God. One day, he ended up in jail. Cold, alone, and scared, he had no hope. But something changed in that quiet cell. He started to pray, not with big words, but from his pain. He picked up a Bible and read stories of people who messed up but got another chance. That gave him hope. He wanted a new life. After jail, he worked hard, Mark. He left behind his old name, Marky Mark. He acted in movies, but more than that, he became a man of faith. He went to church every day. He fasted. He raised his kids with love and respect, things he didn't have as a child. Fame didn't make him forget God. It made him trust God more. He often says that without Jesus, he'd be back in jail or dead. But God gave him another shot. He never forgets where he came from. His story shows that no one is too far gone for God to help. 7. Alice Cooper. He was known for dark, wild shows. Alice Cooper. His concerts had blood, snakes, and loud screams. People thought he would never talk about Jesus. Maybe he thought that too. Offstage, his life was falling apart. He drank too much. His body was weak. His marriage was breaking. The fun was gone. His wife gave him a choice: get help or lose it all. So he went to rehab to fix his body. But something else got fixed too. He picked up a Bible, something he hadn't done since he was a kid. He wasn't doing it for attention. It was real. He found Jesus again, not with noise, but with quiet faith. Now he still performs, but he keeps his stage act and real life separate. The show is Alice. The man behind the makeup, Vincent, follows God. He leads Bible groups and helps young people. His story shows that even in the dark, you can find light. 8. Dave Mustaine. Heavy metal was played with fire by Dave Mustaine. First with Metallica, then with Megadeth, his music was full of anger. He hated God. His songs said so. Behind the music, he was lost. He used substance. He got into fights. His life was a mess. Then he hurt his arm. A nerve stopped working. He couldn't play guitar. His whole world fell apart. In rehab, someone left a Bible in his room. He picked it up, not because he wanted to, but because he had nothing else to do. The words hit him, not with guilt, but with kindness. He felt seen, like someone cared, that someone was Jesus. Dave gave his life to Christ. It wasn't a small change. He left his old ways behind. Now he still plays music, but he's careful. He took songs off his list that didn't match his faith. He turned down shows that mocked God. Some fans didn't like it, but he didn't care. To him, truth is more important than fame. Now he uses his music to bring hope, not hurt. 9. Kevin Sorbo. A super strong hero on TV was once played by Kevin Sorbo. He looked powerful and happy, but inside he felt far from God. He grew up as a Christian, but over time he stopped believing. In Hollywood, with all the lights and fame, he chose success over faith. He said he didn't need God. He believed in science, money, and fame. But then something happened that changed his life. Was at 38, right when his career was going great, Kevin got really sick. An aneurysm in his shoulder caused 3 strokes. He couldn't walk well. He lost his vision. Even simple things became hard. The strong man became weak. Doctors weren't sure if he would get better. During the quiet, painful days, Kevin began to pray again. His wife, Sam, stayed by his side. She helped him read the Bible and talk to God again. Kevin started to see faith not as rules, but as a real friendship. Slowly, he got better. But something more important happened. He felt new inside. He called it a spiritual awakening. Now, Kevin acts in Christian movies and shares his story. He says, being a Christian in Hollywood is hard, but it gives him peace. Fame didn't heal him. Faith did. 10. George Foreman. The boxing champion was George Foreman. He won Olympic gold and 2 world titles. People loved his power, but inside, George felt lost. He had learned about God as a child, but he stopped caring. He believed in himself, not in God. He was full of pride and anger. Then one night in 1977, after losing a fight, George collapsed in the locker room. He was cold and scared. He felt like he was dying. At that moment, he felt a warm light around him. He cried out to God. He didn't ask to win again. He just asked to live. When he woke up, he felt different. Boxing didn't matter to him anymore. He wanted to do something good. He quit boxing and became a preacher. He talked to kids in jail and taught them about love and hope. Years later, he came back to boxing, not for fame, but to help his family and church. He won again, but this time with peace in his heart. Today, he shares his story and says his best win was finding faith. 11. Martin Sheen. A famous actor was Martin Sheen. He grew up Catholic and believed in God when he was young. But as he got older, he stopped thinking about faith. He focused on acting, politics, politics and helping people. He wasn't angry at God, he just forgot about him. Years later, Martin worked on a movie with his son. It was about a man walking a holy path in Spain. As he filmed the movie, Martin walked those same paths. He visited old churches. He sat in quiet forests. Slowly, he started to remember his faith. He remembered prayer. He remembered God. The beauty of the places and time with his son opened his heart again. He went back to church and now talks about Jesus. He helps people through both action and prayer. These 3 men were strong and famous, but something was missing. Fame and power didn't make them whole. It was pain, silence, and small moments that brought them back to God. Their stories show that even when someone walks away from faith, there is always a path back. 12. Dean Cain. Known for playing Superman, Dean Cain didn't always believe in God. He grew up in a home where no one talked about faith. In Hollywood, he focused on hard work and success, not prayer or church. As he became more famous, he felt like he didn't need anything else. But then life got hard. He went through painful breakups, tough legal problems, and had to raise his son on his own. Fame and money didn't help anymore. Being a dad made him think deeply about the kind of man he wanted to be. One day, he picked up a Bible. Then he went to church. He didn't hear any voices or see bright lights, but he felt peace. His interest in faith grew over time. What started as curiosity became belief. He found Christ not in one big moment, but in many small ones. Today, Cain talks openly about his Christian faith. He acts in Christian movies and shares his story with others. He says true strength isn't about being strong or famous. It's about following Jesus with a humble heart. For someone once called Superman, his real power came when he admitted he couldn't do it all alone. 13. Stephen Baldwin. Once living a wild life, Stephen Baldwin was one of the famous Baldwin brothers and enjoyed parties, money, and attention. In the 1990s, he starred in big movies and laughed at faith. He thought religion was old and useless, but deep down, he felt something was missing. After 9/11, his wife started going to church. He saw her become calmer and stronger. At first, he didn't care, but slowly he got curious. He began to listen and ask questions. He even read the Bible in secret. Then something happened. It wasn't loud or dramatic, but it changed everything. He felt something real, something he couldn't ignore. He left his old life behind and started fresh. Now, Baldwin has a strong Christian voice. He makes Christian movies, talks to young people, and visits churches to share his story. He says faith didn't just make him better, it gave him a new life. He doesn't chase fame anymore. He follows the truth. 14. Kirk Cameron. In the 1980s, Kirk Cameron was a teen star. At 17, he had money, fans, and fame, but he didn't believe in God. He thought faith was for weak people. Still, he felt something was missing. Fame didn't fill the emptiness, so he went to church and started asking questions. He read the Bible and talked to people who had faith. Then one day, it all made sense. He realized Christianity was true. Life wasn't just about success. It had a bigger meaning. Cameron changed his life. He turned down movie roles that didn't match his faith. Some people in Hollywood didn't like that, but he didn't mind. He had found something more important. Now, he travels the country to share the gospel. He makes Christian movies and runs a ministry. He talks about sin, forgiveness, and God's grace. People may laugh, but he doesn't stop, because the world's praise fades, but God's love stays forever. 15. Sherri Shepherd. Always looking happy on TV, Sherri Shepherd had fast jokes and a strong voice. People thought her life was perfect, but inside, she was falling apart. She grew up in a religious home, but left faith behind as she got older. She thought believing in God felt like being trapped. So, she ran after success instead. But success didn't help her feel better. She had hard times with money, heartbreak, and pain in public. She felt weak and lost. She started to wonder why she still felt empty. One day, she picked up a Bible, not for show, just because she was tired and needed peace. As she read, she found stories of people who were broken but healed. She saw herself in those stories. In those pages, she felt like Jesus was waiting for her. She began to pray. At first, it felt weird, but then it became her safe place. She got stronger, not from being famous, but from her new faith. Now, Sherri talks about her faith with honesty and humor. She doesn't pretend to be perfect. She just wants to help others know they can always come back, no matter how far they've gone. 16. Angus T. Jones. A teen star on one of the biggest TV shows ever was Angus T. Jones. Millions watched him every week. He made a lot of money, but he started feeling like something was wrong. He didn't grow up with strong beliefs, but he felt something was missing. The show, the jokes, the fame. It didn't feel right anymore. A friend gave him a Bible. It seemed small, but it changed everything. He started reading it. The words felt powerful. They showed him a different way to live. He started asking deep questions. Why was he doing the show? What was he really saying? He spoke up. He called the show filth, not to get attention, but because he felt it in his heart. People were shocked. But Angus was changing. He left the spotlight quietly. He went back to school. He helped with mission work. He joined a Christian group. He traded fame for peace. His faith became his guide. Now, Angus still believes. He doesn't regret leaving fame behind. He found something better. 17. Jessica Simpson. Before Jessica Simpson became a pop star, she sang in church. Her dad was a pastor. She loved singing about hope and heaven. She wanted to be a Christian singer. But fame pulled her in a different direction. Her songs became more about looks and love. She smiled for the cameras but felt sad when she was alone. Fame didn't fix her. Her marriage ended, and she turned to alcohol. She felt like she was falling apart. Then she remembered God from her childhood, not a God of rules, but a God of kindness. She started reading the Bible again. She prayed and cried. Slowly, she felt better. Her healing took time, but prayer helped her grow strong again. She learned she didn't have to be perfect, just honest. Now Jessica still sings and works in fashion, but her faith leads her. Her heart is full of grace. 18. MC Hammer. In the early 1990s, everyone knew MC Hammer. He wore shiny pants, danced fast, and had hit songs on the radio. He made millions, lived in a huge house, and had many people around him. But inside, he felt empty. As a child, he heard about God, but as he got rich and famous, he stopped listening. He said he believed in God, but he didn't live like it. When the money was gone, the people left too. He was alone and broke. In that quiet time, he picked up a Bible. He started reading and praying. Slowly, he changed. He stopped chasing fame and started chasing God. He studied the Bible and became a preacher. Now, instead of concerts, he speaks in churches, schools, and prisons. His story is not just about losing and winning. It's about finding something better than fame. 19. Tyson Fury. The champion boxer was Tyson Fury. He came from a family that talked about God, but he didn't follow faith. When he beat Klitschko and won the world title, everyone cheered. But inside, he felt lost. He had fame, but also depression and addiction. In 2016, he almost ended his life. He got in his car, ready to crash it. But right before he did, he cried out to God. He didn't know if God would hear him, but something stopped him. He later called it mercy. From that day, he changed. He started praying, reading the Bible, and getting healthy again. Now, every time he fights, he thanks Jesus in front of everyone. He says real strength comes from faith, not fists. He shares Bible verses and talks about grace. He still fights, but now he fights for his soul too. 20. Tommy Tiny Lister. Looking like a tough guy, Tommy Tiny Lister played the bad guy in movies. In real life, he had fame, money, and fans, but not peace. He grew up around religion, but didn't follow it. In his last years, something changed. He started sharing Bible verses and going to church. He acted in Christian movies, not as a villain, but as a man of faith. He didn't want to pretend anymore. He wanted to be real. Before he died in 2020, he shared one last message. It wasn't a speech. It was honest. He said he had made mistakes, but knew God had forgiven him. People close to him say he died with peace, not fear. 21. Anne Rice. A famous writer was Anne Rice. Her vampire stories asked big questions about life and death, but for almost 40 years, she didn't believe in God. When she was young, she left her faith. Her books were full of deep ideas, but she wrote them from a place of doubt. In the late 1990s, after many losses and health problems, she picked up the Bible again. At first, she just wanted to understand, but she found a strong and real Jesus. Her heart changed. She gave her life back to Christ. She wrote books about Jesus and talked about her new faith. Even though she later stepped away from church groups, she never left Jesus again. Until her death in 2021, she said, "He was her light and truth." 22. Peter Hitchens. Once proud of not believing in God, Peter Hitchens grew up in England, in a home where Christianity was more about tradition than real belief. As he got older, he threw those ideas away. He liked Marxist thinking and believed religion was a weak story for people who were afraid of the truth. He worked as a journalist and wrote strongly against faith, old values, and anything related to God. But during a trip to the ruins of the Soviet Union, something changed. He didn't just see broken buildings or poor towns. He saw a world that felt empty, a place where belief had been removed. The silence felt cold and dark, not peaceful. He started asking himself questions. If there is no belief in something bigger, what do people live for? Can right and wrong still matter without a higher power? His smart thinking didn't give him answers, so he looked again at the Christian books he once hated. This time, he wanted to understand them. He shared his change in a book called The Rage Against God. It wasn't soft or full of dreams. It was a strong, logical case for why he now believed Christianity was true and important. His view was the opposite of his brother Christopher, who stayed an atheist. They still loved each other, but their beliefs never matched again. 23. Clive James. An Australian writer, Clive James made fun of religion for most of his life. To him, faith was like an old story that made people feel better. He loved books, art, and smart ideas more than prayers or churches. He was known for being funny and clever. But things changed when he got very sick. In his last years, Clive had leukemia and trouble breathing. He didn't talk loudly about it, but his writing changed. It became softer, deeper, and more thoughtful. He wrote poems like Japanese Maple, which were full of beauty, sadness, and something close to faith. He didn't say he believed in God, but he also stopped making jokes about belief. His words felt like they came from someone who had seen something powerful. Maybe not all of it, but enough. He never joined a church or made a public promise, but people who read his final poems saw a change. He wrote about beauty that felt bigger than this world. He seemed to be reaching towards something good. 24. Lee Strobel. Believing in facts, Lee Strobel was a top journalist in Chicago who trusted what he could test and see. He thought religion was a myth for people who didn't think clearly. That belief stayed strong until his wife became a Christian. Instead of fighting her, he started to investigate. For almost 2 years, he used his research skills to study Christianity. He read history, talked to doctors, and asked hard questions about Jesus, death, and truth. He expected it to fall apart, but it didn't. The more he looked, the stronger the answers became. Slowly, he stopped doubting. He made a choice. In 1981, Lee Strobel became a Christian. He left his job in the news and started writing about faith. His book, The Case for Christ, has helped millions of people. He still speaks to doubters using the same sharp thinking he once used against belief. 25. Lacey Sturm. Growing up in Texas with a lot of sadness at home, Lacey Sturm felt angry all the time. She didn't believe in anything. She felt like no one wanted her, like no one even saw her. By the time she was 16, she didn't want to live anymore. Her life felt like a big mistake. One day, she was ready to end everything. But instead, she walked into a church. Not because she believed in anything, but because she didn't know where else to go. She sat at the back, ready to leave. Then a stranger came up to her. He said God wanted to talk to her. She didn't think it meant anything, but when he spoke, the words hit her hard. It felt like someone finally saw her. Someone finally understood. At that moment, something changed. She felt a kind of love she couldn't explain, like someone big and kind was holding her. She left the church still feeling hurt, but now she wanted to live. Something inside her was different. 26. Nancy Cartwright, the voice of Bart Simpson, a cartoon boy everyone knows, was Nancy Cartwright. She did this job for over 30 years. Millions heard her voice, but most people didn't know her heart. She had fame, she had money, her voice was on screens everywhere. But inside, she felt empty. She didn't talk much about faith. She didn't really know what she believed. Her life looked perfect from the outside, but inside, it felt very quiet and lonely. Then something began to change. It didn't happen on TV. It wasn't big or loud. It was quiet. Nancy started reading the Bible. She began asking big questions. She started listening. Slowly, her heart started to feel different. She found peace. She found a new purpose. 27. Kelsey Grammer. Having lost many people he loved, Kelsey Grammer faced deep pain. His father died, then his sister, then his half-brothers. Each loss hurts deeply. He smiled on TV and made people laugh, but inside he was sad. He tried to fix the pain with money, fame, and other things, but none of it worked. He felt like something was missing. He didn't believe in a loving God, not yet. But with time, things started to change. He began to pray, to read, to feel again. Slowly, he let go of the idea that he had to carry the pain alone. He found faith in small, quiet moments, not all at once, but enough to move forward. Now, he acts in faith-based movies, not to get praise, but to share hope. He is still someone who knows pain, but also someone who knows peace. 28. Josh Peck. A star on TV who always made people laugh, Josh Peck was sad and lost behind the scenes. He grew up without faith and didn't know where to turn. Fame came early, but it didn't fix the emptiness he felt. First, he tried to feel better by eating too much. Later, he turned to worse things, substances, lies, and dark choices. In his 20s, it all fell apart. He was surrounded by people, but he felt completely alone. Then he heard something new, a message about love and grace. It wasn't loud. It came from kind people who lived differently. He got curious. He started reading the Bible. Josh didn't just find religion. He found peace. He didn't earn it. He just opened his heart, and that was enough. Now he has a family and a new purpose. When the sadness comes back, he doesn't hide. He prays. His story isn't just about quitting bad habits. It's about finding something real that lasts. 29. Steve McQueen. Known as the King of Cool, Steve McQueen looked tough and acted fearless. He didn't follow rules. Born into a hard life, Steve thought he didn't need faith. He lived fast and wild, but in the end, it wasn't a crash or a fight that stopped him. It was cancer. The sickness made him think deeply. He started asking big questions about life, about death, and about what might come next. His flight teacher had strong faith, but didn't try to preach. He just lived kindly. Steve noticed. He started going to church and reading the Bible. He met a preacher who spoke gently. Steve wasn't scared anymore. He didn't want to be in control. He was ready to trust something bigger. When he died, a Bible was resting on his chest. It was a gift from the preacher. Some people were shocked, but those close to him saw a man at peace. Steve McQueen didn't die chasing fame. He died holding on to hope. 30. Kirsten Powers. Smart and strong, Kirsten Powers worked in places where people laughed at faith. She didn't believe in God and thought religion was silly. Then someone challenged her, not with a fight, but with patience. She started visiting a church out of curiosity. She wanted to prove it wrong. But something surprising happened. One night, while far from home, she felt something she couldn't explain. It wasn't fear. It felt like someone was with her. She cried. She didn't know why. And for once, she didn't try to explain it away. Kirsten didn't stop being smart or bold, but she opened her heart. She started to believe that truth isn't always cold or simple. Now she talks about faith in a calm, honest way. Not to argue, just to share. These three people didn't grow up looking for God. They ran from Him. They tried to find meaning in fame, fun, or logic. But when those things failed, they found something deeper. Not in big events, but in quiet moments, kind words, and gentle faith.